Now, meanwhile, Egypt is also playing host to the first African-Arab Parliamentary Conference. MPs from around the world are gathered in the resort town of Sharm EL Sheikh, and they're discussing cooperation on legislation, policies, and, of course, security. Both Arab and African nations agree they face similar challenges, which could be tackled through cooperation. Well, our correspondent Adel Al-Marouki is standing by for us in Sharm El Sheikh. Of course, he is following the latest there at that summit. Adel, just to begin with a quick update on what's happening there today.
Well, today, Lindy, is each of the parliaments, the Arab Parliament and Africa, the Pan-African Parliament alone, are holding their own assembly. There are no longer today joint discussions from both organizations, but rather each of them is holding a sequence of its own meetings before the caucuses start with each other's organization. So the Pan-African Parliament is discussing its own challenges, how to create a more powerful organization. The president of the Pan-African Parliament has set a series of recommendations to make this organization a legislative power to the continent and the EU primarily within the year 2063. It's a huge plan that requires all African countries to approve these legislative powers to the Pan-African Parliament, and member here believe that if this step takes place, it will make the Pan-African Parliament very efficient in tackling the issues that most African countries face, whether it's empowering the youth, employment, common trade between African countries, many other issues that concern the entire continent. So each of them are focused on their own issues, and the Pan-African Parliament seems to be trying to push its member states to approve giving it legislative power so that it would have actual power instead of having just an advisory role.
Well, Adel, of course, when the joint caucus does eventually take place, one of the key issues that will be on the agenda is, of course, security. At this point, are there any ideas emerging, or are we seeing any way in which leaders plan to tackle the problem of security?
Well, leaders here believe that when it comes to security, there is a very clear threat to many African and Arab states, which is insurgency in general or extremism, Islamic interpretations that leads to militant groups, whether it is Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, ISIL, or any other group. They believe that there is a core foundation that they all must work to achieve. And to fight this, they believe there are many perspectives. First of all, to have criminalizing laws in all states through which these groups spread, and therefore it will be easy for these countries to coordinate together if anyone has a certain militant that is wanted by the authorities in one country, then if all countries have such an action criminalized, they will all cooperate, and therefore it will help African and Arab countries together to be more efficient in fighting terrorism in general or militants that is expanding through the entire region. So that's one aspect of security. The other aspect is securing the borders and trying to control the flow of illegal migration between African countries who are trying to move on to the northern countries and from there take the Mediterranean Sea to spread to Europe, whether it's the east or west, but to generally leave the continent. So this is another security issue that they believe it. Of course, it has many other roots like economy and employment, but generally these are the two main issues that they believe that stands in front of them. And what the general sense here, Lindy, is that all member states, they don't want to see foreign influence in these internal affairs. They want African and Arab countries together to take these steps independently without any pressure from foreign powers.
Right. Well, it certainly is encouraging to see African and Arab parliaments working together on these pressing challenges. Thanks very much to Adel Al-Marouki, live for us there in Sharm El Sheikh in Egypt.